Today's spiritual cocktail is simply entitled Spain, the winning goal and the pass you cannot afford to miss. Sometimes, let me laugh for myself. Sometimes the greatest revelation doesn't come through a sermon, y'all. Sometimes it just comes from doing the ordinary things like watching a football match. As I watched Spain lift the FIFA World Cup trophy, one interview caught my attention. The reporter asked the young substitute who scored the winning goal, "How are you feeling?" His response was beautifully honest. He said, "Honestly, I can't even believe it. I'm still trying to process it." That single sentence stopped me in my tracks. It made me wonder how many of us are pursuing dreams we secretly hope for while carrying a quiet uncertainty about whether they'll ever become reality. We train, we prepare, we pray, we hope, yet somewhere inside of us lives a whisper that asks, what if it doesn't work? What if the dream doesn't come true? Winning doesn't eliminate uncertainty. Winning simply arrives before certainty catches up. That thought carried me back to two remarkable people I've encountered along my own journey of life. The first is a young visionary named Marwa. I watched him in a podcast on YouTube. He is doing extraordinary, remarkable work in the eastern part of the African continent. The second is my dear friend Talent. As I reflected on Spain, Marwa, and Talent, one message emerged. You don't win because you're certain. You win because you're clear about the next step, the next pass, the next conversation, the next act of obedience, the next courageous decision. Life isn't won by seeing the whole field. Life is won by faithfully making the next pass. Then another story unfolded as I was watching Spain lift their trophy. Rodrigo Hernandez. In September 2024, he suffered one of the most devastating injuries an athlete can experience, a torn ACL. Months of rehabilitation, months of uncertainty, months of watching others play instead of him playing. Many careers never fully recover from an injury like that. Yet 2 years later, there he stood, captain of Spain, World Cup champion, winner of the Adidas Golden Ball as the tournament's best player. The injury that once defined his story became little more than a footnote. That spoke deeply to me. How often do we allow our greatest setback to become our identity? Perhaps failure is the breakthrough your life's game needed. Perhaps failure is simply God changing the direction of the next pass. Spain reminded me of something I've been learning in my own life. What I often called failure, God is teaching me that is the breakthrough. What I called delay, God said that your season of personal development. What I called interruption, God said, I'm redirecting you toward your purpose. One pass, one decision, one act of courage. That's all it takes to change the outcome of a game. Winning doesn't require 1,000 goals. It only requires one. One goal scored at the right moment. And isn't that true of life? Sometimes we're exhausted because we're trying to score every goal ourselves. But wisdom teaches us to make the right pass, to trust the process, to stay in position, to keep moving. Spain also reminded me that champions are not won in a single afternoon, or champions are not made in a single afternoon. They played 8 matches, 8 opportunities to simply show up and give their very best. Some days brilliant, some days ordinary, but always moving forward. Then there was Cape Verde, a nation many people overlooked before this tournament. Yet, because they showed up with courage and conviction, the world now knows their name. Isn't that just like God? He has always delighted in revealing greatness through the ordinary or through those that are overlooked. I can name a few: David, Esther, Joseph, the list goes on. And now, a nation that simply refused to believe they were too small to matter, their visibility became their victory. As I reflected on all of this, I realized these weren't just football stories. They were actually mirrors. Mirrors reflecting my own journey, perhaps yours too. Maybe today you're recovering from your own ACL, not in your knee, but in your confidence, in your finances, in your relationships, in your purpose. Or maybe you're standing where that young substitute stood, unable to believe that the very thing you've prayed for is finally unfolding. Or perhaps you're Cape Verde, faithfully showing up while the whole world barely notices. If that's you, keep playing, keep passing, keep trusting, because God has never measured greatness by visibility. He measures it by faithfulness. May the Spirit of the living God continue to give us sight, not merely to see our circumstances, but to perceive His purpose within them. And may we remember that every setback carries within it the possibility of a comeback. Every pass matters. Every step matters. Every act of faith matters, because sometimes the winning goal is only one pass away. Cheers to another spiritual cocktail. Until then, sip this one slowly. There's revelation in every drop.